if a lender is not from the state of Florida. The condos is where it gets kind of challenging for lenders that are not from the state of Florida.
There is more than 1.5 million condo unit in Florida only. It's more than any other state in the country. Just between Miami and Broward County, we have 565,000 condo unit. That's a big number.
Once they receive these critical dates on the contract, if the application is due on the 5th, it's due on the 5th.
Correct.
On the 6th, it's late.
Or
You could be in default, which could possibly put your deposit at jeopardy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our new podcast, The Real Estate Talk. In this podcast, we will be diving really deep into the Florida real estate market. I'm Durid, and joined with me, my brother and active realtor, Leo. Today, we're going to be kicking off our very first episode with a very hot topic that's in the mind of many buyers coming to Florida. It's condominiums, or as they call it, condos. We will be exploring the ins and outs of condo buying, the challenges you might face as a buyer, and how to smoothly navigate through them.
And what makes this podcast different and helpful for everyone to watch, that's we're gonna share the most common issue we have with our client in the process of purchasing their condos. Plus, we're gonna have very, very special guest today. She's more than just an expert. She knows every corner of the real estate journey. And in fact, she's not a real estate agent, but she is the secret hero behind each transaction. Peggy, thank you for joining us today. Tell me more about yourself and what brought you to the crazy real estate world.
Peggy, I'm so happy to have you, by the way. Today is special. We're going to take too much knowledge from you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. You guys are great. So just a little bit about me. My name is Peggy Cruz, and my background is mortgages. That's where I get my foundation from. And I'm currently a licensed insurance agent, which has been a big win. I've been able to bring a lot of knowledge to the team and train the agents, specifically around the insurance inspection reports, which is the wind mitigation and the 4-point, helping agents to navigate when they're having a hard time getting an insurance policy for a closing. So that's been very good to be able to share all that knowledge with the team. And currently, I am the Director of Talent Acquisitions at the Lori Reeder Real Estate Keller
That sounds
Williams
very
team.
fancy. We're gonna tell
Fancy
you about
title.
it later on. Yeah, we're gonna shed some light on that later
Awesome.
in the episode.
Looking forward to it. I'm really excited about this.
Were you also, Peggy, somewhere in the title process? Did you work in the title before?
No, not in title. Mortgages has been my background. I have my total experience just from what I've known here. Yes, from
because I know
processing
you're very
transactions.
good at title. You have helped us navigate through like lots of transaction before.
That's right. I think that's where I got all my experiences with all the thousands of transactions that I've processed. I've been able to gain a lot of title experience.
So again, she is the secret hero behind each transaction in the condo. And since today we're gonna talk about the condos, and I know how condos is a big thing. Like if I can say it, it's like a 700 page of a book. We're gonna try to cover most of the thing today with you. So let's start with what is the condos? Like what is the condominium? What is why people love condos a lot?
Yeah, so we have condominiums. We're surrounded by them everywhere. It's a great purchase point for a lot of buyers. Some buyers may only qualify for condos. Down here in South Florida, we have a lot of snowbirds, right? Residents that are coming from Canada, spend 6 months of the year here, and usually they're looking in to purchase the condominiums. Less maintenance, nothing really to worry about when they're not here. Maybe they're not here for 6 months of the year. So it's an attractive purchase here in Florida, but I would say tricky.
It is tricky.
I think tricky
purchase.
is the right word. Yes.
Exactly.
It's
and
not
since
hard,
you
scary.
since you mentioned there is a lot of condos here. I don't know if you guys know, there is more than 1.5 million condo unit in Florida only. It's more than any other state in the country. Just between Miami and Broward County, we have 565,000 condo unit. That's a big number.
So I think that that's an attractive amenities or a big
Beautiful.
attraction. A lot of buyers looking for all the inclusive, all the amenities. Of course, with that, we know that comes along the monthly association fee that comes with the condominiums. And I think that's where it gets a little bit tricky on all the moving pieces with purchasing a condo as part of the association fee. Obviously is is a big factor and what's included in those association fees. But they are an attractive purchase, and look with those numbers, astonishing numbers on how many condos there are here.
Correct.
Yes.
I agree. And in the way that is where all America, the condos in America raises the prices up. In Florida is not the case. In Florida, the prices sometimes go down right now because the HOA fee here is crazy. So we're going to talk more about this and why the HOA fee is really high in here. But tell me, like, people here really don't understand what is the difference between a condo or a townhouse or
when would you consider something and call it a condo?
Correct. Good question.
Why do you call a condo some places? Like, is it strictly for buildings, stories, and 4 stories or 5,
Right.
or can it be like for a townhome?
Yes, so it's a great question. So just to go over a little bit of the difference, right, between a homeowner association and a condo association. Single family homes, right, townhouses, you could find in a homeowner association, right? Within those homeowner association, there are rules and regulations, and there's still a monthly fee. But when I am purchasing in a homeowner association, I own the home, I own the exterior own the land. Usually that association fee is for the common grounds, landscaping, possibly maybe there's a community park that they're maintaining.
And that's usually for a townhouse or a single family home.
That's correct.
But not for a condo in a tower.
Correct. So condos are more of a multi-dwelling, right? 3, 4, 5. There's 20-story condominiums out there.
Exactly.
And when I'm purchasing a condominium, I am purchasing the interior unit. I don't own the land. I don't own the hallways. I don't own the elevators or the parking lot. It's all part of the association. So I'm actually buying that interior unit when I'm purchasing in a condominium association. So a little bit different moving pieces there.
Okay.
So if it's a tower, then it's 90% likely it's a condo.
That's
But
right.
if it's a townhome, that's when it gets tricky. It could be a
Correct.
condo, and it could be homeowner association.
Is a
governing
townhouse
body.
could be a condo?
Absolutely. There are definitely
really?
townhouses that are run like a condo association. I always say, like, one of the good places to see is on the tax record. So let's say I'm looking up a property in Broward County. If you go to the tax record, in that legal description, if it's a condo and run like a condo, it'll say it. And that's one of the parts, right, we always talk about in training, is an agent doing their due diligence, knowing how is this townhouse run. Is it run like an association, a homeowner association, or is it run like a condo association?
And we do come across this problem a lot, and it just happened with me recently. That I was shopping for a condo for one of my buyers, and the condo they liked, I went into the MLS and it says it's fee simple. So I was thrilled, like, yes, guys, what you choose is really a fee simple, though there is no problem with financing or any challenges. We're gonna move smoothly. Digging deeper into that after speaking to the agent, even though she has a fee symbol in the MLS, it turns out not to be fee symbol. As you said, we went into the tax record, and it's a condo association governing body for that townhome. So it's good to check really good before you go and assume that this is condo. And
Correct.
it happens with some agent that they're probably new and they don't know the difference, but not every townhouse is a fee symbol.
Absolutely. That's why I always recommend, right, as a buyer agent, that we do our own due diligence. There are mistakes on the MLS.
All the
Listing
time.
agents make mistakes. We've had plenty of scenarios and stories on where the MLS is reflecting, and there's a big distinguish there, a big difference in moving pieces, whether it's a homeowner association or a condo association. So something that definitely needs to be identified. And we've seen it many times before where maybe listing agent doesn't do all their due diligence and they have it listed incorrectly, which we've seen time and time again.
Someone is asking, where is the good location to buy a condo? You know, they're coming here and they know nothing about Florida. Where should they start looking? I know this is a question that can really varies, but what do you think, Peggy? Where would be a
Well,
better
yeah.
location to get a condo, or maybe a better value?
Well, I would say that, once we always talk about our buyer consultations and sitting down with buyers, determining what's important for them, if they want to be by the beach or they want to be inland. So there's a lot of great areas. We've got Fort Lauderdale, we've got Miami with great condos, great views out there. So I think it would be a lot on the buyer's preference and exactly what they're looking for when we sit down with them and and really ask them what's important, what are you really looking
Exactly.
for.
And I feel this question should be mostly like for you as an agent. You go always in the street and you find this beautiful property. So where do you think is the best place to really like purchase a condo in Florida?
In my opinion, and working with lots of buyers, I think, as Peggy said, it's a preference where the buyer want to be. But in my opinion, a condo to have all the value, I think view is really great. So I like the beach. Getting a condo at the beach, probably Miami, Sunny Island, or Fort Lauderdale on the beach.
Absolutely.
It really comes along with a very great experience since you're getting a condo anyway,
Yeah, but
and
the
you're
prices
gonna deal
will-
with the challenges
The
that we're
price
gonna
is
be
high
talking.
again when you have a nice view.
It's a little
So-
bit higher. It's a little bit higher maintenance fee, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Absolutely.
If you're more of the lower budget or you want to be more inland, there is great options there as well. And yeah, a good realtor can help you navigate with that.
Absolutely.
I know everything now is beautiful. Everyone listening to us, condo is beautiful in Florida. I want to purchase a condo for sure, but let's be realistic. Condos have a lot of challenges, and let's start speaking about this. What is the challenge that's really about the condos?
Absolutely. So there are a lot of challenges that come with condominium, especially if a buyer is financing. There's some moving pieces there with the financing also. So challenges that we face currently with buyers, right? Some of condominiums have credit score requirements. Sometimes buyers don't meet the credit score requirement. That's very important. If a buyer doesn't meet a credit score requirement or an income requirement, then that's not the right condominium.
They cannot submit an offer or even
That's-
thinking about purchasing.
That's right. We want to make sure that when we're writing offers for the buyers that we've got the right place.
Okay.
Pets is another challenge, right? If a buyer has a pet, is there a weight restriction, a breed restriction? Some condominiums allow no pets, so that could
I will stop you here for a second. What if they have service dog? Can they deny them?
Service animal, an emotional
yeah, so
animal.
great question. So years ago, buyers, it was a lot easier to get approved with an emotional dog. You only had to show an emotional certificate.
Online, $65.
That's right. Go online, get that certificate. So now it's become a little more challenging. Most buyers will have to show a doctor's note that goes with that.
So a real certification, not just the
Absolutely.
fake one.
Not just the one online.
Okay.
They caught on after a while that everyone was having that online certificate.
Exactly.
So pets can be a challenge, especially if you have an emotional support dog, having the proper documentation, presenting that up front, right? That the buyer has an emotional support dog. Vehicles are a challenge.
What do you mean vehicles?
Vehicles.
I know what you mean vehicles,
Yes.
but they don't know. So,
So yes,
tell me what you mean
yes,
vehicles.
yes. So we have a buyer who recently filled out his application, says he has a big pickup truck. They actually had him bring the pickup truck over to make sure it fits in the parking spot. If it was going to be too big or too overwhelming, they were not going to allow it.
So they're going to deny his application.
Absolutely.
Wow.
There are condominiums that don't allow any type of commercial vehicles. Right?
Correct.
If I own a commercial
I saw
vehicle,
that.
absolutely. If it's not allowed, not an option. Motorcycles, that's another one. Just a quick story. We had a buyer.
Yeah, I love story. Give me a
Yeah,
story.
absolutely.
Tell me more story.
Yeah, the stories always resonate
Everyone
well.
loves stories.
Absolutely. We had a buyer. We put him under contract at a condominium. We confirmed with the listing agent. Buyer has a motorcycle, has a Harley, loves his Harley, talking about it all the time. Listing agent's response was, absolutely. Don't you see all the motorcycles in the parking lot? So we move forward. So 25 days into the transaction, buyer gets called in for his interview with the association. Buyer starts talking about his motorcycle, and the president says, whoa, absolutely not. Those rules have been changed. We no longer want the motorcycles
And
that
that
are
happened
here.
in the interview.
Absolutely at the interview.
That must felt really bad.
Yeah,
for
it's
that
disappointing. Buyer was very disappointed, right? And just think about buyer have spent money, inspections, appraisals, turning in applications.
That's insane. That's insane. And
It's-
to be honest
it's
with
disappointing.
you, exactly. And to be honest, I had this mistake by myself one time when in the beginning, the client asked me like, I have a truck. I'm like, okay, you don't see the trucks? That's fine. I didn't know that the truck should be in the certain size. And basically in the interview, they asked for a picture for the truck and the truck was big and they deny him for this. So I had this experience myself when I just started. It's a big deal. You
It
have
is.
really to know about all those things.
There's some pickup trucks, right? They have like the extra long bed, and they're overwhelming for the spot, and some of them just don't want it there. So there are definite challenges that.
What about the income?
As an agent, absolutely. Income, a lot of them have income requirement. You have to make a certain amount of money. If you don't make that money and it can't be reflected and shown and demonstrated on tax returns.
So why would they really want to guarantee
Good question.
income as a home? Like, this is someone who's buying a home and they're not renting. So why do they really care much about the
It's
income?
just part of their requirements or rules. They want to know who they have coming in. They all do pretty much background checks to make sure the buyers have clean background and income and credit score requirement. I see it more and more. It is the requirement of the association.
Is it because
And
they want to be sure that is you paying the HOA? You
They're
can cover
gonna be
the
able
HOA
to
fee.
pay
Well,
the
absolutely,
HOA
especially
fee.
the income. They want to know that you're going to be able to come in there and afford it,
Exactly.
right? And especially, special assessments. I'm sure we're going to get into that. Special assessments, knowing that a lot of these
That's
condominiums.
another scary story here.
Yes,
Let's-
absolutely.
Yeah.
So income and they're strict about it, right? If my credit score is off by 1 point, they're not going to approve the buyer.
It
We-
happened.
We've been down
I've
that
seen
road.
it in my eyes.
point.
1 point. The
One
buyer
point,
gets
and we've been told
refused.
by the association, hey, we can't make an exception for you. We don't do it for anyone else.
Wow.
So 1 point could make a huge difference, and that's why we've seen it before. You want to make sure that when your buyer says they've got the credit score, that it's coming from somewhere creditable, that the credit score is actually accurate.
I'm even seeing more and more now HOAs that requires 6 up to 18 months of that HOA
Holding.
fees in escrow
Yeah.
just to get approved. That
Absolutely.
would be a sum of money.
Right. That could be a challenge, right? Where you would have
Exactly.
to confirm up front that me as a buyer, if the association is requiring a year up front of HOA maintenance fee, which we've seen, that the buyer have the assets and the money to put that there.
We want to dive deeper into more challenges. I know what we talked about is more of on the association side and getting approval by the association. Now I know there is way more challenges with that, and we're just scratching the surface here. We're gonna be talking about financial challenges. That's gonna be the number one challenge in a condo here. And can you elaborate on that?
Yes, absolutely. So if I have a buyer who is going to be getting financing and they're looking for a condominium, as a buyer agent, I really need to understand the moving pieces. So for example, if I have a buyer who's going to purchase FHA financing, I need to make sure that that condo is approved. Right. Our main goal always is with our buyer is to make sure that we do all our due diligence up front so that when we write that offer, it's the right place. Not where we've written a contract and come to find out they don't accept this or they don't accept the vehicle
wasting time.
and having to start over again, because that's not what we want for our buyers.
Correct.
So financing is critical. Some of those documents that are kind of mandatory up front that we need to get a hold of, right, are things like the condominium budget. What does the budget look like? Because the lender is going to need to put their eyes on
What is
that.
the budget?
The budget for the association, what their moving pieces are, their expenses.
Okay.
How much they're paying, how much they're making.
How much is coming in, what's going out, whether they're paying for landscaping, with the elevator service, what does that
And the best part in that budget that everyone want to see on that budget is
reserves.
reserves. That's the word of today, actually. This is the main thing of today is reserves.
So
An
just so
association without reserve,
right, an association without reserves is kind of tough. So reserves, right? What are those reserves where the association actually has like a savings separate account where they have money in there so that if the building needs a new roof, they've got the money for it, the reserve for it.
And where does they make where does they like collect the reserve from?
Usually from the association, right? Their
From the
monthly
fees.
fee,
Okay.
right? They're collecting monthly fees, and then they have the opportunity
Some of the fees to
to
reserve.
start saving and
And
building
all
that.
condos have reserve?
No, not all condos. Most condos
Okay.
don't have
most
reserves.
condos does not
That's the
have
questions
reserve.
I want.
Unfortunately, most don't have reserves, right? So if I have a buyer who is getting financing, there are certain documents I need up front because I need to get this to the lender, in front of the lender, and say, hey, is this workable? Can we get this done in this condo? Budget, reserves, is there reserves or not? The master policy, right?
Master policy is one big flag.
Big flag. The master policy is the insurance the exterior insurance for the building that
Which
covers
is
liability.
The insurance here is a big thing in Florida. It's the most expensive part in the association maintenance fee that you pay. It's insurance because it's Florida,
Even
thanks
as
to hurricanes.
homeowners, even as single family homeowners, right? Insurance is just a big piece. And unfortunately, insurance in South Florida is very expensive.
So most association does have insurance on their book, but what's the problem with insurance though?
Yes.
Like if they have insurance, then we should be good, right?
Right. So great question. So yes, associations all have their insurance. They have to have a master
What's the catch
policy.
there if all of them have it?
So the catch is that a lot of the associations have been increasing their hurricane deductible to 10%
Bingo.
on their master policies, raising the deductible to in turn lower the premium on the policy because the policies are so expensive. My brother currently owns a unit in Coral Springs, and that master policy premium has literally doubled on them. Doubled. So what happened in turn? The association monthly fee went up, right?
But isn't it like the insurance is covered by the HOA fee, right? So
Correct.
as you condo owner, you don't have to pay insurance, right?
Well, exactly. I'm not buying a policy that covers the exterior of the building. That master policy is covering the exterior. So for example, right, God forbid hurricane comes by, rips off part of building F, that is the master policy. Now me as a buyer, when I am closing and purchasing this, I am purchasing an interior policy.
What it's called?
HO6. That is the policy type.
Important one.
And what this policy covers is the four walls, right? My four walls, the inside of my unit. So God forbid I have a fire in that unit, that is my interior policy. If a pipe breaks inside my unit, that is my
and
interior
you're required
policy.
to have the HO6 before even you purchasing.
Correct. So number one, for financing, it is absolutely mandatory.
Okay.
Cannot close without an interior policy. And I will tell you that most condominiums, you'll see it on the rules and regulations. They will tell
The
you they
HO6.
require an HO6 policy.
And usually it's not that expensive.
No, it's probably one of the cheaper policies that you can
You will
obtain
ever
is
see in
on
your
an
life,
interior condo.
especially in Florida.
Right.
And is
Especially
that
in Florida.
only for? So what's the difference between an HO6? Is that the same as the homeowner insurance or
No.
different?
Good question. No. So a single family residence has an HO3 policy type. An HO3 policy type is a full blown policy. So now I have a policy that it covers my exterior, my roof, right? If a hurricane comes by, my full blown policy has my hurricane coverage. That's why on a condominium, there's a master policy, which is a part of that HOA monthly fee that you're paying, that is covering the exterior, hurricane, roof, anything like that happens. That is part of that exterior policy.
Okay, that's good. We covered
So
mostly.
HO6 is mostly within
condos.
within the walls
That's
of
correct.
your property. HO3 or homeowners insurance covers everything
That's
on
right.
the lot.
Full
The
blown
expensive
policy.
one.
Okay.
You got
The
it. Yes.
expensive one.
Well, we know, and we talk about all the time how expensive
Florida.
Florida insurance is, and a lot of it obviously has to do with hurricanes. You know, we haven't had one in a long time, but that's really
Hurricane
part of the
season coming soon,
reason.
guys.
That's why we
Yeah.
always say, you know, homes that have hurricane protection or impact windows, it's literally the biggest credit that any homeowner can earn on their insurance is when you have that hurricane protection, because it's what we're insuring is the hurricanes.
So we can talk like when people really ask like why the HOA fee here in Florida is so expensive, because the insurance is expensive as well. The insurance should cover the hurricane and everything, and that's what the difference between Florida, for example, and California. It's like the insurance thing.
Absolutely.
And
Insurance
I
is a big
think-
component.
I think it all started with the Surfside incident, right?
That's right. It's a great point.
What
you know.
happened there?
Yes, ever since that Surfside collapse, they've made it mandatory that condominiums have reserve money. The reason why that happened because there was no reserve money to address repairs that needed to be done. Right? We all agree that every condominium should have some type of reserve fund. It's money to invest back into the building, whether it's a new roof, painting, driveways, whatever may be needed, or just repairs. You know, a lot of these condominiums are going through their 40-year inspection, right?
We're gonna talk about the 4 years inspection. It's very important.
Very important. A lot of these it's mandatory. These condominiums, when they hit 40 years, they must do an inspection. And the results of those inspections must be addressed. If not, they're getting fined by the city,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
if you have your 40-year inspection done and now all these repairs need to be addressed and there's no money in the reserves, where's the money going to come from?
So I know, like, talking about the reserve, I know that is low reserve, high risk, high reserve, low risk when you're purchasing a condo. Why, like, low reserve or zero reserve could be a really high risk purchasing a condo?
So if I'm purchasing a condominium and there's no reserves, right, I need to know what those moving pieces in that condominium are going to look like going forward, because I know now it's mandatory that the condominiums have reserve funds.
Okay.
So how is that going to be generated? How is this condominium going to start building a reserve?
That's the
There's
whole why. Not to
Great
go
chance
for-
that there's a special assessment going to be put in place. And as a buyer agent, right, that's about us setting expectations with the buyer, letting them know, hey, there's no reserves here, and this is what it means. There's a good chance at any point that the association's going
Gonna
to be
hit
putting
with
a
a
special assessment in place.
assessment, yeah.
Yeah,
And just to give some light on the assessments, assessment can be anywhere from few tens of thousands of property to hundreds of thousands on each property.
Yes.
And that can really bring a big burden.
Since you
on the
mentioned this,
monthly.
let me just tell you about the story as I wrote online like a few days ago. For a lady, she purchased her condo in Miami in 2021, and she said, I love my 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo in Miami with a beautiful view. She bought it when the pandemic was. She is a nurse. She worked hard overtime, morning to evening. She made $265,000 and she purchased this condo. She was super happy. And a year after this, she hit by $145,000 special assessment she have to pay
Per unit.
per unit. And
Yeah.
was the total inspection, after the inspection report, was a total of $33 million cost
Huge.
in the building.
Yeah,
Wow.
that
That's
would
a
ruin
big
someone's
investment
budget.
there.
That's
That
what
would
ruined
change.
life, not
Yeah.
even a budget. Like,
Right.
how should I pay $145,000? Even if they make it for me lower payments, that's going to bring the HOA fee higher and higher.
And that's why I feel that it's really important to, as an agent, to know all those moving pieces so that you can put that information in front of your buyer and let your buyer be the one to make the decision and understand what's going to be coming down the pipeline.
Correct.
It's big. You know, we just recently had that happen. Also, buyer found out on her interview that there's an $80,000 special assessment coming per unit. So now, unfortunately, the lender has denied the buyer because she doesn't have the debt ratio. She doesn't have the
What
room.
was the special assessment?
The special assessment for repairs and the
Okay.
40-year inspection had come back. So that's why it's great to know up front, like where, you know, if this building has done their 40-year inspection, a buyer has every right to ask for a copy of the 40. We've gotten them before.
Mhm.
Get a copy of the 40-year inspection so you can see the results of what that
So,
was.
so let's say, but let's say like the 4 years inspection being done. Between these 4 years, there is a possibility for the special assessment to happen, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so always there is possibility. Each year you
Always.
might hit by special assessment, but how to avoid being in this risk?
Just by asking up front, right? If the 40-year inspection report has recently been done, the inspection, and I know that there's no reserves in this condominium, and I see the inspection and I say, wow, all these repairs need to be done. My question to the
Special assessment will hit
association
soon.
is, hey, I know you guys got this 40-year inspection back and I see all those repairs. How are these repairs going to be addressed?
But if they had a reserve, they will already pay it from the reserve
Correct. If
without
you're-
putting anyone in the risk.
That's right. The ones that have reserves don't have to come around and ask buyers or owners, I should say, to an additional fee, an additional monthly fee, which
That
would
could
be
be
that
insane.
special.
You want to start with what would a buyer be looking for from his agent or from the condo association that they're trying to buy? What's the main key documents that they need to look for in order to guarantee, at least do their own due diligence and make sure that they're selling in the right way?
So I think that buyers are going to be looking definitely to their agent for direction, especially on the condominiums. There's a lot of things that buyer may not know to ask, and that's where we come into place, right? Asking about the monthly fee and what's actually included in that monthly fee so that a buyer understands, hey, this is the monthly fee here at this condominium and this is what it includes. And typically, like we talked about, the master insurance is definitely something that's included
Correct.
in that fee. The budget, like we talked about, rules and regulations, right? I want to know what the rules and regulations are. You know, it's funny, we had a buyer purchasing in a condo, and when we got the rules and regulations, it's a non-smoking community.
Okay.
So, right. So who would think, right? I've never seen something like that before.
Yeah, it's not common.
So if a buyer or anyone purchases in there, you smoke cigarettes, you smoke inside your unit, there's no smoking on the balcony or anywhere like that.
It's just due diligence, making sure you
is.
know everything
It is.
before you sign and move
It is.
forward.
And the buyer has a right, to know all those moving pieces and what the rules and the regulations are, because this place was a non-smoking and you cannot smoke on the balcony, because if you smoke on the balcony, you could bother the person that's sitting outside down below you.
Yeah, you're right.
So those are rules and regulations, and every condominium is different. Everyone has their own set of rules. And when we are showing buyers specific units that they're interested in, 100%, they should know all the moving pieces, all the rules and regulations on what they can and can't do, and make sure they're okay with it. We actually had a buyer purchasing in a homeowner association,
Okay.
a single family home.
Okay.
And if you have a pickup truck, the pickup truck must be parked in the garage at all times.
I see that a lot, yeah.
So if I get home with my groceries, you can unload your groceries, but the truck is immediately to go inside the garage. So the buyer that we were working with said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because they feel like it's an inconvenience. You can't leave the truck outside.
It does feel like
it's
that
not.
sometimes, yeah.
So-
and some people are proud of their truck,
But
which I
that's an
understand.
important rule
It is,
to
it is
know.
funny. It is super funny though. Like I meet a lot of people, and me myself, I find it sometimes the HOA they are insane. They are like overstating. Like they are
Strict.
like you cannot change the color of your home.
That's
you cannot
right.
put the car. Like come on, like
That's right.
It's make me feel like it's not my home anymore, and a lot of people feels like me as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know where we're going in Florida in this way.
Yeah, well, I think that the most important thing, and us as buyer agents, the most important thing that we could do is just put it all in front of the buyer. Say, Peggy, if you want to live here and you've
That's
got
the
this pickup
restriction.
truck, this is what it is.
That's the restriction.
So that the buyer can make their best educated decision with everything in front of them.
That's
That's our job, because buyers don't realize how many moving pieces there are to our condominium, and there's a lot, especially like financing, making sure that they're able to qualify to purchase in there. Buyers wouldn't understand all those moving pieces. That's why they look up to us.
What about the application?
Oh my goodness.
The application, because a lot of my clients, they really don't like take it as serious as it should be.
That's
Like
right.
when I told them like you have to fill up this application and like submit it within
Sure.
2 days, they just like don't care about it a lot.
Right. The application is such a big piece of the condo transaction. And, that's where we talk about our strategy sessions and being very upfront and transparent with a buyer that once they receive these critical dates on the contract, if the application is due on the 5th, it's due on the 5th.
Correct.
On the 6th, it's late.
Or
You could be in default, which could possibly put your deposit at jeopardy.
You can be notified of our upcoming episodes.
Absolutely.
So, Peggy, what would you say the main flags if someone saw something like a budget, right? Reserves. That's one of the red flag that someone should either walk away or, again, it is financeable. Just to confirm with our viewers, everything can be financeable. Now, there is some moving part there. The lender is responsible for that. And as some lenders out there, especially local lenders, which we really recommend you working with a local lender when you're doing anything in Florida. And that's not to say that other lender or regional or big lenders are not good. No, they're good, but not every lender knows the ins and out of a transaction in Florida. And sometimes the lender caused this transaction to fall through. So my question is, what would be the most red flag that if you see, this is something that you should run away from?
So just to touch on, what you're saying about lenders, and if a lender is not from the state of Florida, the condos is where it gets kind of challenging for lenders that are not from the state of Florida, and they're in the process of ordering a condo questionnaire, and we're trying to explain to the lender, you don't need a condo questionnaire, it's not a condo, right? So those moving pieces of the lender are critical. Especially on condominiums, we find that's where we find lenders from the outside are a little more challenged because they don't understand the moving pieces of that. So that's something to really consider when you're purchasing a condominium and who you're working with. One thing I always say is buyer agent, they do their due diligence and they go through the hard motions of getting a buyer under contract. And we know that's time consuming. But once an agent gets a buyer past inspections, at that point, lender's driving the bus.
Correct.
So it's really
I agree with you.
important on the lender that
It
the
must be
buyer
a
should
good lender.
realize.
It must be a lender that has, the area, the trend, everything about Florida, because small problem could really like let the purchase fall through.
Absolutely. There's a lot of ins and outs and a lot of moving pieces. The condo questionnaire is a big
What is the condo question?
a big moving piece. So condo questionnaire is ordered by the lender from the condo association. And there's either a limited condo questionnaire, which has fewer questions than a full review. And that all depends on the buyer's down payment. So if I'm putting down 5% and I'm purchasing a condominium, there's going to be a full condo review, which has more questions for the condo to answer, right? Questions like, what's the percentage of rentals?
Mm-hmm.
If there's a condominium and there's more than 50% being rented, that could be a red flag for a lender. If there's litigations going on within the condominiums, they're going to look into those litigations. Where are they? What was the cause of the litigation? Did somebody fall on the property? So those condo questionnaires come back with a lot of moving questions that the lender's going to focus on when they receive them back. And we have seen those condo questionnaires absolutely.
So the lender have alternative options of requesting a limited questionnaire, but in return, the buyer has to
put more money down.
put more money now. So
That's
that's
right.
your question, guys. If you really like a condo that's you love, you just want to be in, you don't care what it takes, paying a little bit down, probably somewhere
Could
usually
possibly
is
help.
between 20 to 30% down payment. That does help you get in there, and there is lots of lenders that does creative lending, non-conforming loans that can help you get in there. Again, we do not recommend it because that's a straight red flag that an upcoming assessment is very highly likely.
That's
to
right.
have.
So some of the things that the buyer should be looking at is exactly that, agents should be trying to get hold of the minutes so we can read over the minutes. Those minutes are the monthly notes that these associations are meeting together and the topics that they're discussing on things that they're going to be doing, upcoming projects. If there's going to be assessments coming up, most likely you'll find it in those meetings.
So if you don't
Right.
see an official assessment announcement anywhere, also ask for those minutes. Go back
100%.
6 to 12 months. If they're gonna be an assessment, they're gonna be talking about it in those minutes,
Absolutely.
and you're gonna find out about it.
Absolutely. And obviously, an indicator would be if there is no reserves.
That- they're
What is
definitely
that
gonna be
association
assessment.
doing to get those reserves in
Right.
place? There should be
No,
a special
everything
assessment.
comes
That
out
is
from your
correct.
pocket. As a buyer, you have to know this reserve and those budget. Every money the association has to come out from the owner's pocket. So keep that in mind.
Mistakes in real estate, especially the condo, is expensive. It's not just a regular mistake. It will cost you a lot of money if there's a special assessment, whatever. But I always say, the transaction is like a triangle. So we have the real estate agent, we have the lender, and we have the title company, which is like a really big piece here. It might have a lien on the property or anything or something wrong, or maybe the owner is not the owner. So
I think
tell-
that
tell-
would be
tell me
a
more about
nice
it.
hot topic for
Yeah.
another episode.
Yeah.
to dive
No,
deep
no, but
into
tell me a little
the-
bit
the
about
Well, the
it.
title.
title
about
piece
things.
is a big piece, right? A big component. We always say it takes a village to get these transactions to the closing table because
does
you're
take a
right.
village.
It's the agent involved, the lender's involved, the title company's involved, and the title company, right? They're researching the title to see who's on title, making sure that the person who's selling the property is really the seller. We've had our fair share of fraud where people are trying to sell properties that they don't own. The title company is checking to make sure if there's any liens,
Violations,
permits,
permits.
open expired permits against the property. There's some properties that come back, they're in probate. So title company has a big component in this, and obviously they handle our
And
closings.
It happens to
It is
all of us. We
important,
just
yeah.
don't want to go more deeper into it, but it does. It did happen to me, Leo. We had lots of title issues that we greatly dealt with it, and we were able to close, but that was a learning curve,
Sure.
and there is a lot to talk about. So
That is
probably
correct.
that's for
That is
another
correct.
another
It's just like a
episode, yeah.
triangle it should be always covered by the lender, the agent, and the title, which is your attorney as well. it's a transaction, and it's the biggest decision you're gonna make in your life. So better you make it really in a good way. Better you work with the right people, I feel.
Absolutely. Working with the correct agent is what makes the difference. Like you said, this is a big purchase, whether I'm purchasing or selling my property. Working with someone who's skilled and has the value and the knowledge is really the difference. And our ultimate goal is always to have the buyer or the seller have the best experience ever.
What was your
correct.
take on a savvy buyer? Because I know he likes savvy buyers. He thinks those buyers can do their
I think there's
job
some
in their
people,
own.
it's not like they can do their job on their own. I think some people, they can manage to be a very successful transaction, even if the agent was awful. Because let's face it, we are like more than 1 million agents in America. So there's a lot of agent, and I cannot say all agent is good. It's
That's
a very
correct.
small percentage that is agent, it's really, really good. That's include me and Durid. So
And I would agree with that.
I mean, like,
I wouldn't
again,
say
like
anything about
I
myself.
mean, like when you really like put the time in your skills and everything, you can show this.
Absolutely.
And if a buyer that could be really smart, he know what's going on. If he faced with a bad agent, doesn't matter for him. If he keep asking the agent for the thing he want, he can manage it to be successful. But what we're talking about, the percentage about the savvy buyers,
You know,
0.001 percentage. So I agree, but this is not the
I
big
think,
thing.
and this message for the savvy buyers, I love you. I think if you're savvy, we're gonna make a great team. But remember this: I do this for a living. I do it every day, and I've seen a lot.
It's your
If you're
profession.
savvy,
It's your
I'm gonna
career,
love you. We're gonna
course.
work in synchrony together, and we're
That's right.
gonna have a great transaction.
That's right.
Doing it alone is possible. It's workable, but a small mistake can cost a lot.
Of course.
And doing it alone, right? If I had no experience and didn't know anything about real estate, it would be really tough to do it alone because you don't know what to expect. Because we have so much experience and we have a team, right? And so much knowledge, we get to share all these moving pieces. If somebody makes a mistake on a contract, we share it with everyone. Everyone knows about it. Buyers don't know what to expect. They don't know about possibly putting their deposit in jeopardy. There's a lot of moving pieces. And I feel like that's the reason why whatever someone's going to do, they hire a profession.
Right.
If I need a professional plumber, I'm going
Right,
to
plumber.
I'm going to an experienced plumber.
Exactly.
It's the same thing as an agent. You want to work with someone who's experienced and understands it, especially on the condo side, because it's so tricky and there's so many moving pieces to the condo.
No, I totally agree with you. I totally agree.
How stressful is the process of buying a condo or any property in general, but condo in particular? I think single family houses is a little bit more smoother transaction than a condo. It does not involve so much challenges like that. But even if we say a condo, how would it be more smoother?
Well, I would say, purchasing could be stressful. I mean, it's emotional. It's a lot of moving pieces, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. There's a lot of unknowns. And I would say, obviously, purchasing a single-family home, there's less moving pieces. It's not so tricky. Because, right, if I'm purchasing that single-family home, I'm purchasing my own insurance policy. Where if I'm over here and I'm purchasing this condo, I need to know what that master policy looks like. I need to know what kind of deductibles they're carrying. Am I going to be able to get financing
Right.
on that? So just a lot more moving pieces, but purchasing and selling, and I've done thousands
Maybe
of transactions,
like a buyer
can be
getting
stressful.
along with
It
the,
can, yeah,
with
it
the
can be stressful.
agent, sitting on
Oh gosh.
a buyer consultation.
Absolutely. Building rapport with a buyer or seller, sitting down and doing that strategy session, really setting expectations, whether I'm a buyer or seller, right? If I'm a seller, explaining to the seller, hey, these are the moving pieces. This is what's important, that we get past inspections, our first contingency. Explain to a seller what a loan commitment is on a buyer. Taking a look, if I'm a listing agent, I'm going to the seller's house, taking a look at what their house looks like. Do they have an electrical box that is acceptable, or is it obsolete? So there's a lot, and I think it all boils down to the agent sitting down with that buyer or seller and just setting expectations around everything. I say that once you set expectations, no one's going to be able to come back to me and say, Peggy, you didn't tell me this, or you didn't tell me this could happen, or what is this 4-point with all these deficiencies? What do you mean I can't get insurance if this isn't cleaned up? Things that we should be educating and explaining up front.
That is correct.
I have my own terminology with that. it does feel like the buyer would be overwhelmed and scared with this transaction, especially if this is the first time they go with it. And what I do is I like this. I would say like consider this as a more. I don't want to say scary, but let's think about it as a scary movie, like a horror movie, right? When you see it for the first time, you feel like so attached and you can be scared. But then see it for another time. What's gonna happen? Are you gonna be as scared?
No,
No,
not
you're
as
gonna be
scared.
expecting everything.
Sure.
For some
That's
people,
when you
always
said-
scared from the same movie.
Yeah. Well, those people are gonna have fun with that strategy session. So I think setting expectation will fall under that. If I set on my strategy session, I explain everything to my buyer, and that's what we usually do. We explain the whole process with the extreme of it and how smooth it can be, and just telling them what to expect. I think when that happens later on in the transaction and they came to experience that, it goes really smooth.
It
and-
shows your
and easy on
value.
them.
They're able to come back and say, hey, you told
Correct.
me this could happen. You told me this could come up. So I think everything is around setting expectations, because I think it's better to overeducate them than undereducate them.
That is
That's
correct.
right.
That's correct. That's correct. So, tell me the quick list about things that is really we should go over when I purchase a condo, in the short way, without going in deep in each one, just to remind everyone what is the most important thing.
Yeah, so if I'm a buyer, one of the most important things for me are going to be the rules and regulations. I want to know what I can and can't do living there. I want to know what my monthly fee is going to be and what that includes. And I want to know what my upcoming movements are going to be if I purchase in this condominium. For example, if the 40-year inspection hasn't been done, if there is no reserves in place, what is that going to look like for me as a new buyer coming in? So just kind of understanding all the moving pieces when I'm buying there.
If
so that
there's
I
any
understand.
assessment already going on or anything upcoming, make sure you get the minute. Ask for those
Minutes
6
are
to 12
critical.
month
I agree.
minute. If there is an assessment
That's
that's gonna
correct.
be coming later on, it's gonna be there in that minute.
Absolutely.
And just to elaborate on that, it's not like 100% risk free when you go into a condo. Condo always carry a risk with it, always, because it's a condo. This condo is relying on you as the homeowner to fill in that gaps for upcoming repairs or assessment. But it's always good when we do our due diligence, we minimize the damages. It's way better that just going with the normal thing, that paying an assessment every like 10 years or so, a small amount, filling up reserve, rather than just getting hit with a huge assessment. You just mentioned that story. Huge assessment that can really ruin the whole deal.
And you think about it, if I own a single family home, I need to be putting some money away also for my own maintenance and my own upkeep at my house.
That's a
Or
good
reserve.
point. Thank you.
Right? If I'm a new homeowner and maybe I bought this house and I know that I've got 4 years of life left to my roof, well, I need to start putting some reserve money away as a homeowner, as a single family home, just to be able to address that new roof when it comes
Which
time.
goes to say that condos is not that bad of a deal. It's actually a good deal that someone is taking all that hassle and taking care of it, and you just have to pay for that.
And the
Rather
homeowners are
than-
chipping in together, correct? Right?
Right.
So if we're all living in condos and now it's time for a new roof, you're doing your share, you're
dividing
paying your
that,
share, and I'm
right.
paying mine.
And someone is taking care of it.
There's a
and
lot
you
of
just
good
pay.
moving pieces to it also.
I
Those
think
is a good
condos
move.
is
Just
great, yeah.
like if you have the checklist and you go with it, you
That's
will
right.
avoid all the mistake that could really cost you a lot of money.
Absolutely.
It's just about like being knowledge about everything, having
That's
the
it.
right
You said
agent,
it.
having the right one next to you, asking him about everything, and you are good to go. Not every condo is bad. No, most of the condo is good, especially here
agree.
in Florida.
I
So
agree.
Good
you-
reserve, insurance have everything. You are good to go.
So we would say buying a condo is like sailing in rough waters. If you don't know how to sail, you're definitely, I wouldn't say you might capsize that boat, but
Yeah,
if
don't
you have a
gamble.
if you have a good captain, your chances are way higher to get into those shorelines safely.
That's right.
Don't
You're
buy
relying on
condo
the
like a
captain.
gambling.
That's right. You're
Exactly.
relying on the captain, where our buyers and sellers are relying on us as agents to give them the smooth process and the direction and the education that they need. You said it, the knowledge. Once we give the buyers all the knowledge that they need, they're making the educated decision for themselves if the place is the right fit or not.
That was the main purpose of our podcast, just educating our buyers,
It is.
making sure they have all the knowledge they need to go into this journey
Absolutely.
feeling confident about it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And this episode, I think, one small part of the big image. Like we still have the lender, we still have the purchase process, which is all the escrow, the deposit, the inspection, everything.
All the moving pieces.
That's why I'm not talking about it right now, because I want to have Peggy again with us one more time, hopefully.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
I feel like we cover a lot of things.
Absolutely.
What do you
There's
think?
still one more thing.
What you did?
Well, Peggy, you did started that with your current position being a talent acquisition manager.
It's
What-
very bougie. It's very bougie.
Yeah,
Position.
you know,
Give it
this
to me.
this is really something that we're proud of with the knowledge that Peggy have. And if you're an agent watching us today and you're just starting out with this industry, it's really challenging and it does require some grit and knowledge to keep moving with that. So Peggy, you want to say something about
Yes,
this?
absolutely. So yes, that talent acquisition it's bougie.
It is so bougie.
So it's really director of recruitment. I am fortunate enough to be the one to be recruiting top-notch agents. We are looking for those agents that want to win, that want to make a living, right, with their real estate career, make a nice income with it, and letting those agents know and being upfront, letting them know that this is definitely a level of commitment and dedication to be successful.
And do everyone join your team, does get the training and the knowledge required?
Absolutely. You know, what we have at the Lori Reader team, we've got a great village, right? You guys know the support system. And one thing I really believe is starting off as a new agent, your foundation of education in this career is the most important thing.
That is
You
correct.
need to understand, especially like understanding the contract, knowing where to protect your buyer, knowing what those important contingencies are. And we're fortunate enough to be able to bring that forward to the agents.
That is correct. And here we love a bougie name. So once you attend to the team, you're going to be called real estate consultant, not an agent. So
That's right.
we love bougie names. If you like bouginess, and this is the right place for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well,
This has
thank
been a
you.
pleasure.
Peggy, thank you very much, very much. That was very informative and very helpful for our
Glad to
buyer
hear.
to know how to deal with such property buying. Condo is really tricky, but with the right captain, with the right agent, you can definitely navigate those water much safely. I want to thank you for
Thank you
this.
so much.
It's been my
for
pleasure. I
today.
appreciate you
You've
guys.
been so nice and informative. And again, guys, if you found this really helpful, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and tune in with us. We're gonna have a weekly episode, and we're gonna bring lots of knowledge straight to you.
And again, if you have any question, you can reach out to us, and you have all the numbers and information for Peggy and for us.
That's
And
true. We're gonna leave
that's all.
our social media handles
Exactly.
in this underneath. Where here? It's gonna be
It's
somewhere.
gonna be in
You're gonna see it. It's
description.
gonna
It's
be
gonna be in
somewhere.
description.
If you want to reach out to Peggy, if you're an Asian or starting out and you want to reach out, Peggy will have their information as well.
Okay, enough. Let's turn
Awesome.
off the light. There's
Great.
turn off
Right.
the light. That's it. Thank you so much, Peggy.
This was awesome.